Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a nice little video tutorial I have. Welcome to GeekSmart. And this one's a little, I guess, geeky, but actually on automobiles. So this is my 2012 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, and I am going to install a rear camera on it. You can't really order from the factory. I have the radio that has all the capability of doing it. Bought all the accessories, bought the camera, got everything ready, and yeah, you know what? Let's just go ahead and start getting into it. Alright, so I just began working on my 2012 Jeep Wrangler, putting the rear dash cam in. And so far, all I've done is pull out this bottom section down here, which is this cover. So I think it's a better angle on it. Oh, this little guy, which has a hinge kind of down here, just pulls out from these four factory just push pin kind of guys. So around the steering column you just kind of pull on one side and then pull on the other side, loose, work them both loose. It'll drop down. You can leave it hang there, but get it out of the way. It just has this quick release little hinge guy. So pull that out, and there's a lot of videos that may go into a little more depth specifically to that. And then there's, let me put on a night shot so I can show you. Up in here, there's a screw I just took out right here, right next to the left of the steering column. And on the opposite side, another screw on the right side of the steering column. So take those two screws out, and then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to work everything loose so that there's a screw right basically behind my power windows here. So we have to get this out. Now there's a couple different ways to do that I've seen. One is actually try to get a hold of it, like with a pry bar right here on the side, and pull it out. I don't want to have any blemishes on here, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull the whole dash toward me a little bit, and then work my finger in between the radio and here and pop it out, then kind of put the dash back and disconnect this guy. So I don't know if I might be able to do this with one hand, but oh yeah, there's one more screw up here, geez, before I start. So you can just pull on this little rubber cubby here. There we go. Pull that guy out. I'm gonna throw him up on the dash. And there's one more screw right there in the center, just like the screws there on the dash. And those screws are 7mm screws. Yeah. So we'll just take that out quick. And I apologize for the green, but definitely get a little more clarity. I think we're gonna do night shot in this while we're in the car. I'm not outside because it's freaking cold outside right now. So artificial light only. So now we should be good to kind of just yank the dash a little bit, and all it is just those friction fit things. But now, you know, you work it loose a little bit, and I should be able to get my fingers in here. Let's see if I can get my fingers in there. So I apologize if this video is going to be turning into crap, but I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see, I guess. But basically, just work my fingers in there so I can push from the back side, and then kind of put the dash back a little bit. It doesn't have to go back just so it holds itself. And then in this guy, let me see if I can get my video camera in here decently. See that little, it's not going to show up very red, but there's a little red guy right there. Essentially from the side, you can see I have to push that up. So right now you can see how it looks. It's probably going to be really hard for me to do with the camera on it. Just get my finger on it. There we go, one-handed. Did I do it? Yeah, I did. See, so I pushed that up. Now it's up, so it's unlocked, but you still got to squeeze it. So if you look on the one side of it, right there, kind of gotta squeeze it, and then it'll pop loose. So I found it really easy. I'm gonna put my camera back here again, sorry. I found it easier to do it from the bottom. So it just unplugs from the big plug, and by squeezing right here with my thumb. So I got that out. Now that's out, I can pull the entire dash part after I get one last screw, which is the hidden screw, right there. And I'm sorry, right there, geez. Looking on the camera. So right there, this is the one I gotta take out. It connects, basically it connects this upper dash section to the lower dash section. So let me take that out real quick. Hopefully this is a little different way to see it than the other videos that I've watched. I've taken the dash part once before, so this is my second time. Just doing it by memory now. Now everything should pull apart. Of course, you still want to take your time because there's those little push pins all around it. And then, once it's loose, it's going to kind of kink against the windshield wiper stuff and the blinkers and all the other stuff. So I'm going to push this back here one more time. So I have two hands so I don't damage anything. Just take your time getting it out, you know. You know, if you click one thing, just make sure you click it back. And then once you work it out, I'm just going to actually set it in the back seat. So now, as we see, everything is kind of just opened up now. I can get the radio, the back of the radio, you can't get to from, because it's actually kind of sealed back in here, so it's kind of a pain in the butt. Taking the radio out, well, a lot of that kind of come out here and hang, so you're going to want to either get something to support it, or actually just undo it altogether if you need to get to the back of the radio. So I'm going to turn off night shot so you see more in the color wise again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually get to the back of the radio because I already have my lockpick connected. I just can't get to the video cables because they're not quite long, the video connection long enough to get from the back of the radio to the where I have it coming out in the glove box over here. So I installed that last time to unlock the nav and unlock everything. Now I'm actually just getting the backup camera attached to my lockpick video cables. So that said, and of course there's other devices you can use, but I'm using the actual lockpick to power my camera as well as for the video connection. And the reason I do that is I don't just I'm going to be able to use my camera not only when I'm backing up, but also just by double tapping the Uconnect button. It'll actually bring up the camera at any time I want to see it. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and do the next. So I have my radio pulled out after I took out the 4 screws. I just have it sitting in my daughter's car seat, kind of prop it up, trying to keep it off the screen itself, but it's kind of hard to do that either way. So I have where I put in my video connector cable, and the lockpick is connected back here. One of the cables is what it says camera input right on it. I fished a wire from the glove box area down here up to behind the radio. You can obviously go the other way, whatever's easier to you. I was able to get my hands back in here far enough and connect it. Now I'm gonna actually wrap this with electrical tape so nothing can touch this connection, but also so it doesn't unconnect accidentally if I'm pulling a wire. So, and then once I do that, I'll just put the camera or the radio head back in and we'll test it from there. So I'm just checking it. I have it plugged in via the RCA, and then I have the raw wires from my power connector, one going into my reverse, and then I'm going to touch this negative lead to just the frame inside the glove box here. Hopefully, if everything goes right, you'll be able to see it right here on the screen. Let's find out. And yay, we got a video feed. Alright, so we know everything works. Have to have the carb done for that. So I have everything connected properly. Now it's just about getting the wires ran back to the back so I can have this connected to it. Obviously, in my how I'm going to do it probably is starting from the back and working my way back forward to this location. I don't know. I haven't decided exactly yet. I may actually just run it to the back so that way I have extra wires in the back. So we'll see. But getting wires from here all the way back to the back. So I decided to come back here to the back and kind of get stuff opened up at least so I can actually start running. I think I'm going to run the cables up from down here and in the inside here. But to get that, I need to get behind this panel here, which has the subwoofer in it and power and everything. So what I'm going to do is these bolts down here are T30. So if you have a T30 bit, nice Torx bit, you should be able to remove those. And then we should be able to pull this out and get behind it. So do that next. Okay, so since I'm actually installing the camera on the bumper rather than on the door, which makes it harder for me to get wires in here without them obviously going through like a rubber grommet here and just being in my way almost altogether. So what I've decided to do is, pretty sure I'm gonna do, what I did is I took my hammer and basically just an awl, and I put a couple dents in the metal back behind the subwoofer here. If you can kind of see them. There we go. So I put in some dents. And then what I did is I came around the vehicle and up behind the rear wheel well. You can then see those dents. I put 2 in there, you see. So basically I can use, that's where the wires are gonna come out. So I use a real crude method of, before I drill, let's not put a whole bunch of holes in my car that I can't use, but what I want to do is I want to get a rubber grommet to throw in that hole. So I'm going to have to do that so it doesn't cut the wires. And then I'll also use silicone to seal the hole really well so no water or dust or anything can get in there. So rather than do this, I'm going to do it that way instead. Unless I find a different way of doing it that works better. But so far, that's the only way I've found so far that'll be good without me even noticing I did it. So that's what I think I'm going to do, is probably go down and get some rubber grommets before I start so I have everything ready. So there we go. So what I've decided is I'm going to put everything together up here first. I'm going to actually run all the cables all the way to the back and then do the back section last. That's how I'm going to do it. So running front to back rather than back to front. So put the screws back in my radio, get it nice and solid back again. And then I'm going to put the dash back into place. Put the screw here and the screw up there first before I reconnect the power windows. That's actually easier to do if I do it after everything's back installed, so I'll do that next. So I wanted to show you something real quick before I go any further. This is what I learned last time I put this back together, is how to put it back together right. I have it just setting where it's going to go here, but if you look where these air vents attach to back in there, if you can see, they go inside with this, or basically this little foam rubber seals between the actual air and the vent itself. That's what was really holding me up last time. So you got to make sure that both of these seal onto that really good. So start kind of down low and work that, and then kind of work your way up. So that's what I have found works best for me. So I just worked in the opposite direction, made the low part down here first, worked my way up. Then I wanted to make sure that these were going in the right location, because these little shots here actually do hold on to it, and make sure the screw hole shows on both sides. And then work your way above the radio, and then it'll kind of come together. And then when you push it all together, of course it'll snap into place. Double check your corners here. This is where I found last time is that, and of course my radio's restarting, look at that. So make sure everything seals up good, and then once that's done, get the screw in here first before you put the power lock or power windows back in. I would say just put all 3 screws in, plug the power window in, and then we're good. And then I put the last screw in up here, and then I'm gonna put my little dish in right up here. And now all I have is the power windows, which obviously make sure that it's right side up so you can read the damn thing. It'll plug in only one direction anyway, but plug it in, you'll hear it click. And then of course you gotta redo that lock. There we go, you can hear that click there, and I'll show you here real quick before I shut it up. I'll put the night shot on so you can see it better. So make sure that lock is back in place, so you can see it now, it's down. And then just push it back in place. And that is it. My dash is all taken apart. So obviously this is more than just a rear view camera if you needed to get a hold of the back of the dash for whatever reason. Otherwise, I still have all my wiring harness out, which I tucked back in. There's tons of space in front of the actual glove box, so I have plenty of space there. So, but yeah, from there, look, and I just noticed something. One of my filters for the interior is actually cockeyed, not correct. So I'll have to fix that while I'm here. Either way, there we go, and that's how you get I guess that part of the Jeep. From here, we'll go to running wires. So what I'm doing now is I just taped my power lead that I'm going to run to my video cable that I'm going to run. and I'm going to start feeding it in the dash here. What I want, my goal is come down with this far wiring harness here and then into the plastic here by the door under here and just run it towards the back. So that's what I'm working on now, is feeding that wire. So before I tidy up the dash a little bit and pull the rest of the wire, I crimped on to my reverse 12-volt cable in my harness. So that power lead is going to power the actual camera itself from the front rather than from the tail light. So like I said, so I can actually power it whenever I want to power it rather than only when the reverse light's on. That's why I'm doing this. You could also run it directly to the battery if you wanted to, if you have it on all the time. Otherwise, I'm going to actually put my lockpick back up in my little, let me get the night shot on so you can get a better shot. So back up in there, you can see plenty of space up in there to get all of my wiring harness. I'm probably going to tie it up a little bit so it's not in the way with anything else, but that's it. So I got all my wires tucked nicely up there. And just so if you don't know how to put this glove box back on, there's very similar to the driver's side over there. There's a hinge, goes into those hinge spots on the bottom, rests in there, and then you can see where you can, there's plastic points here on the other side. You just basically pinch those in, so you get your second free hand here. And so you just, once you get in the hinges, pinch, past, and that's it. Very, very simplistic in how she operates, but it works really, really well. Just want to show you real quick what I ran so far from the front. All I'm doing is just taking the wires, if I can get a better light. Trying to get this in there. Just taking the wires and tucking them underneath this. And the only thing I took out to get this easy is this one, just a standard push pin. You may have to take a flat bar or something to get, and what you'll want to do is you'll want to lift from underneath the actual plastic piece, not the head of this. You'll break the head right off usually. So you want to actually lift from the piece directly right underneath it if you can. I just took my flat end of my hammer, stuck it underneath there and popped it just a little bit. And there's my phone. But yep, so we'll just keep running the wires. When you get to the rear door here in the Jeep Unlimiteds, the carpet actually goes underneath this plastic door panel here. I didn't even have to remove this little pin. I just kind of pulled the carpet out, brought the wires in from underneath the carpet, pulled the carpet out from underneath it, and then just kind of pulled them tight, and they run right underneath there. So now I can actually run them under the carpet along the door here, up to the side, and then straight to the back. So I ran the wire along just behind the carpet right there, which is probably falling down in there now. When I got back here, I tucked it underneath here, brought it into here, and now I have it down, scrolled down to where I'm eventually going to drill a hole. So I'm ready for that part, which means I'm going to go and get some lunch, and then I'm also going to get some rubber grommet that is big enough for the hole I'm going to drill, that will be big enough to fit one of these RCA video connectors through, because that's all the size of hole I need, and then I'll silicone it shut once it's in place and everything's hooked up properly, because I'm not going to finish off that way. But that said, not too bad for hours worth of work or so far, maybe, if that. If I wasn't videotaping, it'd be a lot faster, but I am ready for the next step. And of course, you can see where I have a wire right here. Eventually when I pull everything tight, there won't be any extras, so I won't have to worry about seeing a single thing, because it's all going to be hidden, other than the video itself and the camera, which will be flush mounted right about there. So that's the other drill bit I got to get, is a good clean drill bit, so I can go slowly and work a nice small hole through the bumper. So I am here in the back of the vehicle, back at the bumper. My wires are already ran. I've gotten some grommets and stuff, and what I did now is I actually just marked the center of the bumper. So I just measured from here to here, and then took half of that, obviously made a mark, double checked it from one side to the other, make sure you're the same from the right or the left. I want to make it as centered as I want to make it look as factory as possible. And then up and down I centered it there as well. And what I would do if I were, I would definitely look at this and make sure that you're plenty away from the bottom of your tire. In my case, because of how the bumper works, that's going to work perfect. I definitely want to stay away from where the receiver is going to go as well, because I'm also going to put a hitch on eventually here. But for now, that's exactly where I'm going to drill. So I'm going to take my time on this because I really can't have a redo or a do-over, and we'll see how she goes. There's the outside piece is the most important piece to get through. Once I get past that, I'll be sitting a lot better. So we'll do a little more investigating before I actually drill. Alright, so this is the moment of truth. I've decided I'm just going to go ahead and drill through, and slow as I go. I'm using a 3/4 inch bit on my camera, which is a little loose, but I try 5/8 or anything smaller, it's way too tight. So it's what I'm going to have to go with. I'm going to actually run it backwards. Plastic will melt more than I don't want it to chip. That's the big thing. So I'm going to take my time. I started a little push right on it. So far so good. Just gonna take our time. I don't want to mess this part up. Alright, we are through the first 2 layers. The outer layer, which is the silver layer, and then the first black layer in the hollow bumper behind it, which is where the camera's going to go, obviously, is right there. And then I don't need a 3/4 inch hole on the back side for where just the cables are going to come through behind here. So what I'll do here is probably just going to use a 1/2 inch hole, so that way I have enough room to get the ends fished around. And then maybe up and over the bumper. We'll see how tight it is back there when I get back there, I guess. But we'll do a 1/2 inch hole now. So I have a 1/2 inch bit right here. So now, all I have to do is get started. And now, I should be good. Yep, right through the back. Awesome. Do you want to see it? So you can see right through the hole. Now, the camera should fit pretty good. Now, one other thing I will say is we're probably going to want to push the camera in loosely so it doesn't actually snap. If it does snap, it ain't coming back out. So we'll put it in. And I want to make sure that it's turned properly, because that's one thing I noticed on my camera that I got. There's nothing that marks top or bottom. So you'll want to actually get it hooked up properly before you actually pull it nice and tight. However, we're going to go ahead and run some wires. So here it is as I'm fishing the cable. That 1/2 inch hole I drilled is really tight once you get the one cable through. I had the red cable through first, and I could not get the yellow one for the life of me. So pulled it back out, put the yellow one through first, and the red one's coming through really tight, but I think I got it. Yeah, I definitely got it. So I'll feed those through, and then eventually I'd like to actually come up and over the frame, because obviously this is where the hitch is going to eventually go, right here. And I want to get it on top, out of the way, and or I could just line it against this. We'll see how it comes out in the end. But that's what I'm gonna work on now. I'll probably come back once I get it ran over towards that direction where it's eventually gonna pop through where I'm gonna drill through right up there. So cool. All right. So here we go. Camera's over here. I got it fed through the hole and up and over the frame here. Now there was not enough space between the bumper back here and the frame, the actual bumper frame, I guess. What I had to do is I actually had to 2 bolts that are holding the plastic bumper on over here, and one over here, and I can now flex the bumper up a little bit. So once I did that, I was able to pull it through. Now I'll wait to put those bolts back in until I get this all fed where I wanted it. But at least now, it's all set, and I just gotta run the last little bit of wiring. Woohoo! Okay, it's been a few minutes, more like 25, but obviously the camera's where it left it. I don't have the wires ran yet, I just have them drooped down here. I wanted to test it before I did anything else. But I ran my power cable down through. I have my cables connected here, from the one from the front to the one that came from the camera. And then the ground lead, I actually just had it, let me get the night shot on in here. I just have it screwed right into the body. Actually, those 2 divots, I made one divot one here and the other one was that divot back there. So I just screwed it directly to the body, and that was that. Otherwise, I'll wind all those cables up and zip tie them together, and then just got to get these ran better. Obviously, my quick disconnects I'm going to keep actually up on the top of the frame back here, and I'll show you that once I get that done. But that said, camera is working. There's my leg. What's up? So test wise, she worked out perfect, and she looks really good. And I'll clean it up and I'll show you the end product. Okay, so finished product. There's what she looks like in the bumper. Looks pretty dang good. Got my silicone sealant around the actual hole with the rubber grommet so it doesn't cut the wires. And then the loose wires are right in there. And then if I go down below, let me lay out my back while I go down there. Wire comes through the bumper. There. Goes over the top. Got my connections up here zip tied. Eventually I gotta cut these yet. Zip tied along the frame. I got one zip tie on the frame itself. As it loops around, I'll get over by the wheel well. So up in here you can see she comes. Let me get the camera up in here. Hard to do. It's coming along the frame there, and then right up into the sealant section there. Try to put a little extra sealant down there, obviously because it's outside. And but that is that. So there you have it. There it is. My nice little rear backup camera. I'll tell you what, we'll get in the Jeep real quick, and I'll actually show you what it actually looks like. Yay! So I'm in my vehicle. Turn the volume down. And as soon as I put it in reverse, I'm actually, it's running right now. If I put it in reverse, it should pop over automatically. There we go. It looks like I have to rotate the camera ever so slightly, which I'll do at a later time. Same thing goes if I take it out of park, obviously, or out of reverse into park, or into drive for that matter. I'm going to reverse, and I'll put it in drive. We're good. Let's put it in park. Or you know what? Let's just put it in drive like I'm driving, and then I'll double tap my U-connect button, and I should have it. Boom, and I should be able to watch myself drive away if I want to. Yay! But that's it. Hit it again on my system. It's a nice thing about the lockpick, and that's pretty cool. So, hope you enjoyed the installation of my backup camera on my 2012 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. Of course, same goes for most of the JK Wrangler Unlimiteds, at least, and or the Wranglers for that matter. So, that's my camera. Hope you enjoyed it. And one more real quick comment on the camera that I used itself. I can actually pull it out. It is kind of a pain. You gotta get your fingernails around it, but I can pull it back out to reposition it. So that's what I found just a second ago as I repositioned my slightly off camera, and now I got it on exactly where I want it. So thanks again for watching, guys. Okay, guys, so I've been using it for a little bit here today yet, and working perfect. So I wanted to give, I guess, maybe more of my 2 cents than just signing off after I was done. First of all, if you are not comfortable with taking apart the dash or something of a vehicle, then probably don't attempt this. However, it's not that hard of a project. It really doesn't take a whole lot. Obviously, it takes some thinking of where you want to put the camera. In my Jeep here, I liked the bumper idea more than I liked. They make another camera actually for the Jeep Wranglers that just attaches right to the spare tire. It's actually probably a much easier install than mine because no hole drilling like mine required. However, I want to put a tire cover over my spare tire. So that's one of my next accessories I'm going to be purchasing, is a custom tire cover, where if you didn't do that and you were okay with leaving the tire unexposed, that's probably the easier way to do it. That's a much simpler install, because it's just running the wires, the exact same wires that run for the windshield wiper stuff or whatever, I believe, or at least for the power locks for the tailgate, if nothing else. So depending on where you put the camera is going to depend a lot of the experience you're going to have. The hardest part, I thought the hardest part was going to be drilling the hole in the bumper. That was one of those parts that I really, you don't want to mess up, and I'm thankful I didn't. The hardest part of the entire endeavor probably was taking apart or trying to figure out how to get the wire ran from the underneath to the top, which really wasn't that tough, to be honest. Nope, that really was probably the hardest part. I wanted to take apart the sub enclosure back there a little more than I could. However, I got to a point where it was like, either I was going to probably break a piece off the thing, or it was just going to be, I just have to deal with it in the way and just be able to push it off to the side a little bit. So I wasn't able to remove it. That said, in your Jeep, you may be able to remove it just fine, but I don't want to push it to the fact. I didn't break any pieces, thankfully, on this install, so it worked really, really well. Like I said, I've already taken apart the dash once before, so it wasn't a big deal. That's actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be the first time I did it. And other than that, pretty easy install. Out of 10, probably a 4 is maybe my best, go at it. It's about as easy as changing brake pads on a disc braked vehicle, which is pretty easy. So that said, any questions or comments, post those below. Subscribe to the channel above. I'd like to give you a whole variety of videos on this channel. So check us over at Tech Gooch, which is my other review channel, which I will do probably a review of this backup camera itself. For $12.99 is what it cost me on Amazon for the backup camera. I already had all the modules for my gig system itself, so that was a wash to me, because I bought this for my van back in 2008. So money to get it connected, probably, depending on where, you probably 50 to 80 bucks, you'd probably be able to get the connecting harness. Otherwise, the camera itself is pretty cheap. Wire, I just had some spare wire to run for that power lead. Otherwise, if you didn't want to do the power lead, the amount of wire they give you with the camera, you'd be able to connect it to the actual tail light, which then you didn't have to worry about running power all the way to the front. But like I said, I wanted to be able to control it from the radio itself. So that said, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.